Tony here with the Classic League Gaming and Electronic Podcast, and we are big fans of retro and modern gaming, as you know, and we are joined with Tommy from Distant Star Games. So tell us a little bit about Distant Star Games, a little bit of the history.
Okay, well, I've worked on games since 2003. Mainly all my stuff has been through Sega Dreamcast. I love Sega Dreamcast. Of course, this convention I'm rocking not one, but two Dreamcasts. So basically, Distant Star by itself, it started back in about 2004, 2005. And we actually started doing indie games back then as well. And might have heard of it, might not. It's maybe infamous now. The title that we were announcing back then was called Yumi Samurai Warrior. That was back in Midwest Gaming Classic back in 2005. We had a publisher back then. Our team was ready, and all of a sudden it just collapsed. So basically what we did for that is we went back a little bit and worked on our fan series for Sailor Moon called Destiny Revival. So we uses that right now as our test platform for our indie games. And so with our logo here, which is a Phoenix Angel, we're showing like it's our rebirth, our reemergence back into the indie game age. And of course that's where we are today.
Okay, tell us a little bit more. I know Sailor Moon is a huge title, and you say fan release is what you call it, correct? And so what is different about the fan release, or what can people expect when they play that game? What makes it a fan release?
Okay, well, you take the original game series, which was based on the anime or the manga. We looked at the certain games, and there's a lot of stuff that Bandai, which is the group that created the games, they missed a lot of stuff as far as the fandom goes. Like, there's some areas that isn't right, there's some dialogue that just didn't match, and there's a lot of parts that are just kind of like, huh? So what we did was we went back and we completely revamped the entire game part. Now, there is some parts that are same to the original, but we added new levels, we added new enemies, new bosses. All the casts are all volunteer voice acting, so that's new to the series. All the English, all translated perfectly. And then we've also went back and we're trying to expand that series, going from the original two games, which was Sailor Moon Classic and Sailor Moon R, and we're going to be finishing that up with Sailor Moon S and Stars, which will be combined from Super S and Stars.
Okay, well, that sounds really amazing. I'm excited to play those expansions and kind of add-ons to the original series. Scott and I are big Dreamcast fans. We love the Dreamcast, so these titles are released for the Dreamcast, right? And you have some other systems in mind, correct?
Yeah, basically for the Sailor Moon series, it's always been free because we always want that for the fans, because I know a lot of them love Dreamcast, they love Sailor Moon. That was the first series we wanted to go with there. There's a lot of other different systems that for your friends that may be a lot of homebrewers out there. We have it for the Xbox One, the big bulky black one, you can't miss it. You've got the Nintendo Wii, which was a newer port that just came out. I know there's one for Mac now, there's one for Linux. There's also some handhelds like PlayStation Portable, there's a Can-Do, GP2X, there's a bunch of them, and they're constantly adding on new ports.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's nice when you can kind of develop a community of people that are kind of adding content and things like that. So you mentioned you have some indie games coming out, correct? All right, tell us a little bit about the indie game scene that you're working on. What are some of the titles you're working on?
All right, well, the first one is called Wild Blue Squadron. Now, that one is a more historical game. It's based on World War II, starting off where the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. Basically, you take charge of an American pilot, and he goes around the different missions, like the Battle of Midway, you've got the Doolittle Raid, you've got Guadalcanal, all the major missions. And what we try to do is keep it more in the retro style. You may have seen UN Squadron from way back in Super Nintendo, where it was a side-scroll shooter game. That's what we're trying to bring back. And like we say, our slogan, we're making old school new again. We want to bring that back, that kind of style.
Well, we've definitely seen, we're plugged in well in the YouTube and podcasting community. We see a lot of people who used to play retro kind of going back to that and collecting and all those things. So I can tell a lot of people, at least in our listener base, would be really excited to hear more about Daystar. And so where can we go to find out more?
All right, well, the website is www.distantstargames.com, and there's a lot more titles we'll have up there. We'll have screenshots, we'll have game trailers, and the biggest thing about us is we care what the fans think. If you know of a game that you like to see manipulated into something else, I mean, it doesn't have to be a fan game per se, but like say, oh, I love in this game how we did this and this and this. I would love to see this implemented in some ways else. I would love to do that sort of thing. So, and our main business here is there's a lot of groups that have a lot of web comics and they want to make games, but they just don't have the coding knowledge. So that's what we're in business for, and we're actually working on a few titles with some webcomic designers here.
Well, you've heard that if you're into the indie game scene, you definitely want to check out Distant Star Games. We know the website, and I want to thank Tommy for being with us again. Great to have you on the show, and we will look forward to seeing more content from Distant Star in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.